Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Frank Tuminello. I am CEO and co-founder of FileForms. It's a pleasure to be speaking with all of you today on this timely topic that is the Corporate Transparency Act and BOI reporting, which has many folks like ourselves asking a ton of important questions right now. A quick background on myself and our leadership team at FileForms. My partner and I have been following the Corporate Transparency Act since its inception, and comes from me and him come from very complementary skill sets within the financial services space, specifically as it relates to this new regulation. So he actually comes from a background as a tenured CPA, formerly head managing director at Alvarez & Marsal, where he spent 15 years focused on global tax and compliance for multinational and cross-border company formations and other broad range of international private equity firms and services that relate to compliance. I spent the last decade of my career working with financial services businesses across the board within highly regulated industries such as insurance, healthcare, and a variety of other industries, helping them through various investments, growth initiatives, and strategic developments. So I started my career as an investment banker, advising banks through their implementation of Dodd-Frank and other strategic transactions that they were going through, and then ultimately worked at a middle market private equity firm investing pretty exclusively in the financial services space, broadly speaking. Then had the opportunity to work in corporate development for a few years, and then was able to join the FileForms team and really help build this business from the ground up to support thousands of professional service providers and ultimately tens of thousands of businesses so far in their compliance process with the Corporate Transparency Act and BOI reporting. Our goal is, as a mission-driven organization, is to really instill confidence and reassurance as folks can get through this new process that can be complex at times, and ultimately want to support not only small businesses but their advisors that are CPAs, attorneys, accountants, etc., in proactively serving clients' needs. So extremely excited to be speaking with all of you today, and looking forward to diving in. So, with respect for the topics we'll cover today, we'll cover a little bit on who FileForms is, why we should care about the Corporate Transparency Act, broadly speaking, recent FinCEN updates. As we know, FinCEN is the regulator of the Corporate Transparency Act and the BOI reporting process. We'll help you understand kind of the current state of play within the federal courts, as there have been a few cases brought forth around the legality of the Corporate Transparency Act. We've got some great updates there for everyone. We'll help you prepare for the likely volumes of reports that are on the horizon for folks, and ultimately help you think through how you can develop a strong strategy for your firm ahead of the deadlines, which are right around the corner. And then lastly, would love to just discuss how we could help you provide a BOI reporting service within your firm in a few different capacities. So very excited to be diving into these topics, and hope we can get all the questions answered throughout this. Just a quick summary of FileForms. Our platform was built to make BOI reporting simple and secure for really all stakeholders that are involved in this new process. We use a modern SOC 2 compliant encrypted architecture to offer our clients a seamless filing experience. And we also have a direct integration to the federal government through their API, so able to submit data very securely in an instant to the federal government and provide transcript and confirmation numbers for users. We have CPAs and attorneys on staff. We work with a number of CPA, large CPAs down to single practitioner CPA clients. We have CPA relationships, clients, and SMB clients in all 50 states across the nation, and some, in fact, around the world. We've received several awards for our product and work with some of the largest organizations within the world as it relates to legal entity management and formation. So, why you should care about the Corporate Transparency Act? Well, virtually all small and medium-sized businesses throughout the United States must file what's called a beneficial ownership information report in 2024, so this year. And the deadlines are fast approaching. In fact, some might even be past due, depending on when your entity was formed. So really want to help folks understand and understand the best approach to conduct the appropriate analysis, kind of the data collection process, and then ultimately assess kind of some of the considerations around cyber risk, for example, given the nature of the data that is collected. So this is a process that has some complexities depending on ownership structure of entities. And ultimately, we want to ensure that folks are able to get this process done efficiently, not waste time, because obviously time is a scarce commodity for business owners, and also avoid these pretty significant government fines and the penalties for non-compliance or any misconduct with this new law are significant. In fact, 591 days is the exact number that is the amount of the fine that accrues per day, up to a $10,000 maximum, and then ultimately civil and criminal charges are on the line for any misconduct with the CTA. So this is something that's pretty significant. It's new, it's complicated, and we really want to help everyone on this presentation get comfortable with kind of the solutions that exist out there. But just to take it a step back, as I mentioned, we've been following this law for many years now, since its inception, and it's pretty remarkable that there hasn't been more coverage or more awareness spread by the government, who ultimately is in charge for marketing this new law, and it certainly isn't part of their forte, unfortunately. 32.6 million businesses across the United States is the estimated amount of reporting companies that will need to file by the end of the year. And the end of the year is just 70 days away. So as you can imagine, there are certainly plenty that haven't filed just yet. I'll give you an exact number as we get into the updates. But this is also a perpetual filing. So there's an initial filing that's going to take place, and then there's a need to maintain this information going forward. So I think a lot of folks kind of sleep on the fact that this is a one and done. That is certainly not the case. And in fact, every single new entity that's formed is going to now have to file a BOI report within a pretty finite amount of time. So this is quickly becoming a piece of just business compliance throughout the nation. Many folks ask why the government hasn't done a better job of bringing awareness. That's a great question. Certainly the government has attempted to bring awareness, but certainly FinCEN is a relatively limited resourced government agency, a department of the U.S. Treasury that, in fact, has never actually rolled out a national small business law before. So they will be first to admit, and we have the benefit of meeting with them pretty frequently, that they are certainly behind the ball in kind of creating the awareness. They're doing the best they can, but quite frankly, feel a little bit overwhelmed right now. And when we initially started following this law, in fact, there wasn't a ton of information out there outside of the Federal Registrar, which my partner and I read pretty frequently. And really since that time, and more so over the last 9 months or so, we have seen more major publishers and news outlets pick up on the fact that this is a blanket new regulation for SMBs across the United States, and effectively folks will need to get compliant. But it's no surprise that many folks still haven't heard about it because the government just hasn't been able to really rally the troops around all the different agencies or even kind of going to more localities and municipalities to kind of create some level of awareness. So we suspect that's subject to change as kind of the deadline gets closer and closer. But as an organization, once again on a mission to help keep businesses compliant and avoid these unnecessary fines, we're doing everything we can to help also spread this awareness. So with that, we figured we'd cover some recent updates from FinCEN on the new law. FinCEN has done their best to provide FAQs as they have gotten questions through their kind of chat support. They've kind of provided some clarity on dissolved entities, HOAs, for example, the types of acceptable IDs and what have you that effectively helping to iron out some of the kinks within the final rule, which was the law that effectively put the CTA into place. And the FinCEN's been doing the best they can to address questions. There's still a lot of open questions out there. So really looking to kind of help folks get those questions answered in any way we can. Our team is always on standby to help support folks getting through the filing process. But as I mentioned, FinCEN's doing their best to spread awareness. It's been troubling for them. And unfortunately, that means that the awareness is the responsibility to create awareness is really gonna fall on business advisors such as CPAs and accountants who will likely be fielding questions from their clients on this new law. But I think a lot of you might have had this law on your radar, perhaps even all year, and ultimately might have waited to see if perhaps the law would get delayed or repealed, or potentially there would be some change that would no longer require folks to disclose BOI information to the government. Well, thus far, all indications point to the fact that this law is here, it's passed, it's in place, and there's a deadline that's right around the corner. So everyone from the director of FinCEN, Andrea Gacki, quoted here, or even Janet Yellen of the DOJ has been quoted as well, stating that this is a key law. This is an anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist funding bill, and ultimately this law is here to stay. So we'll go into more details on the court cases right now, which is great. So what to expect from the courts. So a lot of you on the call might have been following a few court cases, one very popular, the Northern District Court of Alabama. But many of you might have kind of waited to kind of file on behalf of a client, or waited to kind of educate on this law, because there has been these pending court cases contemplating the legality of the Corporate Transparency Act. Well, we've had some great updates in recent weeks, and more specifically within the Alabama District Court case, where oral arguments were heard a few weeks ago in the circuit court after it had been appealed. And the DOJ appealed the Northern Alabama District Court ruling, which the plaintiffs had attempted to make the CTA deemed unconstitutional. But the FinCEN was quick to appeal that decision and elevate the case to the circuit court, the 11th Circuit Court. And those oral arguments were heard, and if folks who might have tuned into that recording of the oral arguments, the narrative was very much against the plaintiffs, stating that their case was quite far-reaching with respect to challenging the legality of the CTA, and ultimately we believe that it ultimately will be put back down to the District Court of Alabama to determine a more factual-based determination relative to the summary-based determination, which the court case was initially built on. So that's one example of kind of the circuit court deeming the CTA and kind of validating its legality. That court case will certainly persist, but ultimately, more than likely will not reach a verdict by the end of the year. So, and then kind of during that same time in the last couple weeks, there was an Oregon district court which actually denied a motion for preliminary injunction, effectively on the same merits, stating that is, far-reaching case, not enough factual based context to truly deem the Corporate Transparency Act unconstitutional. So really, at this point, it's nearly impossible for the CTA to be repealed by the end of the year. And thus far, FinCEN has been extremely clear that it expects all companies to get compliant by the year-end deadline. Or unfortunately, there will be examples made of folks, and what I mean by that is there will be fines if folks don't get compliant. So obviously, the nature of folks joining this webinar is probably to kind of address some of these open-ended questions here, but also just start to prepare for what's on the come, which in the next few months prior to the end of the year is going to be volumes of BOI reports to be filed. So with just 70 days left in the year, there's really no time like the present to file these reports for clients. And certainly we're doing everything we can to help folks avoid a year-end filing chaos event. But thus far throughout the year, now in late October, only 15% ish reports have been filed to date. So there's still about 5x the amount of forms to be filed by the end of the year. And ultimately, we want to make sure folks are prepared for that influx in volume, as more than likely folks on this call will be the ones hand-holding their clients through it, or potentially referring their clients to someone who can provide the appropriate level of support for getting compliant with this new law. So it's really getting to the point in the year where it will be nearly impossible to file on the FinCEN portal due to the fact that it's extremely bare-boned in its mechanics and really doesn't offer any efficient means of aggregating information or uploading information in bulk, or notifying users of what they need to do in the filing process, which are all features that, in fact, FileForms does enable. But lastly, I think CPAs really need to be ready to handle the questions that ultimately might come during the filing process. And unfortunately, FinCEN has been relatively limited once again in the resources they can provide that are going to really resonate with small businesses. They've provided a lot of very stale kind of government jargon type language that I think will, quite frankly, intimidate a good amount of small businesses if they get any engagement whatsoever on those pieces of content. But couple that with the fact that FinCEN really doesn't have any live support or ability to call in on their site. So I think once again, CPAs and accountants are going to be facing most of the questions from their clients. So I'd love to just discuss how you can start to consider kind of what's on the horizon for BOI reporting and how your firm can prepare, especially now that 10/15 deadlines are behind us. I think a lot of folks have been tied up in their core competencies, addressing tax extensions and getting those filings in. But we felt, amongst our CPA network that's pretty extensive at this point, that a lot of folks were kind of waiting to get through 10/15, catch a breather this week, and then ultimately look to jump into BOI filings for their clients prior to Thanksgiving. Because I think most folks don't want to wait until December, where folks could be away on vacation, school break, etc. I don't think many folks want to wait till the last minute to get this filed. So the government does offer a portal. FinCEN does offer a portal. It's online. We've certainly identified its limitations. Specifically around some of the inability to do any type of bulk upload out of your text prep software system, or limited ability to aggregate information efficiently. They're more or less just putting that onus on the users, which isn't a great idea, because no one wants to be sending government IDs or EIN numbers and email or text message. That's just not appropriate this day and age with all the cybercrime that exists out there. And then lastly, I think a lot of folks are sleeping on the fact that this is a perpetual filing need. A lot of folks are obsessing over the fact that this is an initial filing and certainly not a one and done. Anytime there's a change of information on the form, there's going to need to be an update with updated information that previously changed from the last report. That change needs to be made within 30 days. So a lot of CPAs or even businesses for that matter just aren't going to be able to monitor that and keep track of that on their own. So it really helps to have a solution in place that does do that work for you. And that's really exactly what FileForms was built to do. FileForms is a simple and secure platform that can help turn BOI reporting into a new revenue stream for your firm, or simply support your clients in their filing journey, so that you can manage how BOI reporting will unfold. Whether you want to be involved, whether you don't want to be involved at all, we have a solution that will allow you to monetize this platform or this new reporting requirement, while more importantly, proactively serving your clients' needs. So that's really how we built our structure from the get-go, and how we look to work with the CPA and accounting clients that we've engaged with historically, and plenty more, I'm sure, before end of year and beyond. So just to give you a little more context on the FinCEN portal, generally speaking, folks seem to have a decent ability to navigate the portal if they only have a few filings to do, and very simple ownership structures. But generally speaking, FinCEN was outright in stating that it's going to take 2 to 3 hours to get up the learning curve, get all the information collected, and then ultimately file by manually inputting that data into their portal individually for each company and each beneficial owner. So they just don't really have any real capabilities that I think a lot of us are used to now in the modern age of technology. And I just want to double click on the fact that they have limited to zero support whatsoever. You might eventually get a very generic response from their support center, but thus far the commentary has been very much that their support has been not extremely detailed or helpful for that matter, which once again leads to a lot of questions to CPAs, accountants, or whoever might be in charge of the filing process, or supporting those that are filing. So FileForms really does solve for a lot of those issues. We more or less anticipated, having worked in jobs in prior lives, that did have some component around a government portal. So we're able to really anticipate where the government was going to have its limitations, and really kind of double down on creating an experience and features to help users navigate this somewhat complex process. So we've created a modern technology solution for managing not only the data aggregation, but also the maintenance and the filing of the information itself with FinCEN. So we offer a full end-to-end filing process, in addition to a workflow solution to help easily store the information and make changes going forward, and monitor the information. So we'll actually proactively help you stay on top of potential changes that might simply slip your mind, if you, for example, you're moving your business or hiring a new C-suite executive, or what have you. There's a lot of changes that can happen, and I think the FinCEN portal is just not going to be able to help you with any of that. Our system does. So we help our partners outsource risk, serve their clients, save time, and generate profit, which I think are all great things. A lot of CPAs concerned about unauthorized practice of law. Some folks feel very comfortable that this isn't a practice of law, and FinCEN and many state bar associations have been helpful, such as New Jersey and Maryland specifically, stating that this is something that CPAs and accountants can do. But our technology serves a variety of different users, everyone from CPAs and accountants to attorneys, corporate formation and registered agent businesses, asset managers, private equity firms, real estate funds, family offices, and the like. So we really do have a product for everyone. And the features are very similar throughout the products and the different structures, but we like to just kind of curate a narrative to help folks understand what's possible. So we, like I said, offer both workflow solutions if you plan to do this service on behalf of your clients. We offer a referral model if you're looking to outsource the service completely to a vendor like us, who can ultimately handle all the heavy lifting and still provide you a revenue share of 20% simply for sending out a link that we provide you email templates for and unique links for tracking and ultimately tracking conversion and commission payouts. So, we have a long list of features, but a few of them are here on the screen. We, in our pro product or referral model do offer a do-it-yourself experience for users who have kind of that guided kind of TurboTax style experience. Sorry for using that name because I know that's a sensitive topic for some folks, but ultimately it's a very intuitive, easy to navigate process that, once again, our team is on standby to help to the extent there's any issues. We have licensed CPAs and attorneys on our team. Furthermore, as you're using our product, you're able to securely upload your ID. That can be done by sending a unique link to your phone or your email, where you actually click that link and have your smartphone opened, which ultimately will take a picture of using the camera of the phone and upload directly into the FileForms platform. So you're never obligated to send the image, which is obviously sensitive PII, across text message or email. It's never stored in your inbox. It's uploaded directly into AWS, which is the #1 most secure cloud in the world, which we use as our backend. So that's all encrypted, both in flight and at rest. So it's a very secure and efficient means of aggregating this information, and really does mitigate the cyber risk that if you're choosing to go with FinCEN, that's something that will be a liability. But I think one of the most key features that our solution enables is its bulk upload capability and ability to push notifications out to the different constituents, such as beneficial owners, to invite them to upload their information in a very secure means. So, for example, I'm sure many folks on this discussion are using some level of tax prep software or perhaps a CRM to manage their client information. So ultimately, we're able to provide a bulk upload CSV template. Folks can easily export information from either their tax prep software solution or their CRM or any other database for that matter. They're able to input, copy, paste the data that they do have on their clients, and then send invitations out at scale, hundreds, if all at once, in the matter of seconds, for folks that might need to upload an ID or might need to input their residential address. So all that exists in our platform. You can also manage reminders and notifications as well from the dashboard, which is an extremely efficient way for a CPA or an accounting firm to get the word out and get folks started on their filing journey. Ultimately, the firm can kind of help populate, the initial info that they have, and then give clients the capability to finish the filing on their own and ultimately press submit on their own, which once again can help mitigate the risk that any CPA may or may not want in this filing process. Is a great tool for that specifically. And then just, monitoring going forward. Like I said, this is something that is a perpetual need, and we do offer the ability to monitor the information so that if passport ID expires, or perhaps an address changes, or the beneficial ownership group changes in some capacity, someone gets married, someone passes away, there's a lot of changes that unfold, and our solution really does an amazing job of helping to stay on top of that. Because if you don't have a solution that does it for you, you're going to have to do it on yourself, and that could be tricky. And I don't think many folks want hundreds of clients asking them, hey, you didn't let me know that I was supposed to re-report this when my ID expired. We're able to kind of manage most of that for you. And then we also have a fully white labeled experience. So if you are a firm that wants to preserve the experience with your own design and branding, our platform is fully co-branded or white labeled. We also offer landing pages as well, which is a great tool for kind of instilling a really sophisticated user experience and something that's trusted by the user. We also provide admin and partner portals so folks can kind of track their leads and the commission payouts and ultimately the filing process for each client that goes through. And we have a ton, I want to emphasize that, of educational materials, graphics, email templates, social media assets that are for our clients to use. So, if you do choose to promote BOI in some capacity, even just in an educational context, we have you covered every step of the way so that you don't have to burden your team with building a bunch of collateral for this at all. So here's kind of a few snapshots of how the platform looks. It's a very intuitive, slick, efficient user interface. Users are able to easily kind of aggregate information on all their companies, use our platform as a central repository for managing the BOI reporting process, managing the ownership information. The IDs are securely kept where they can be used across many, many entities and, not accessed. So the data is not compromised, but it can still be used across those entities. Beneficial owners and individuals will get reminders and notifications as they're added to new businesses and kind of accept those invites to be affiliated with those businesses. We have permissions built out within our system for our pro product, which is our enterprise product workflow solution. So, folks will have admin rights, other folks will have, business admin rights as opposed to the org admin rights. And then, beneficial owners as well will have kind of more limited roles and responsibilities. So it can be an extremely efficient process, an extremely profitable new line of revenue for folks that are looking to jump 2 feet in and offer this to clients ahead of this year-end deadline. And as I mentioned, information can be used across multiple entities. We have the bulk upload feature, so you can file thousands of forms in one simple drag and drop feature. We also have an API that if you want to embed this into a pre-existing workflow, that's something we can also do and have done very successfully. And then lastly, we have AI capabilities so that ultimately when you're taking a picture of an ID on your smartphone after receiving a text message from a colleague who's looking to process the BOI report, you can actually scrape the data off the ID upon taking that picture. So saves you that manual step of inputting the ID info and potentially messing it up upon doing so. So do have a ton of features in place to really help this process be as easy as it can be. We also have a free quiz on our website that is easily put on our partner websites as well, where folks can just walk through to determine whether or not they need to file or not. So there are 23 exemptions. Most of the exemptions are pretty detailed and not relevant to all folks. But to the extent folks want that experience, it's certainly readily available. So how to prepare your firm and clients before the deadlines. I think the most important piece is just to have a plan in place and certainly start educating your clients so that this doesn't catch them completely off guard. We can send you our client letter template, which can easily be distributed out to your clients to inform them of BOI reporting requirements and ultimately CTA compliance being something new that they're going to have to keep track with going forward. We can actively help. You could actively help explain, to your clients within that letter or within the email that you send that they do need an active ID to file. So if someone has a driver's license expiring soon, or perhaps doesn't have an EIN yet, those are key pieces that do take a little bit of time to get, and certainly things that can easily be forgotten about, and then next thing you know, it's the day before the deadline and you're not able to grab an EIN from the IRS or perhaps get to the DMV to get a new ID. So these are once again things that probably should already happen, but if not, getting notice out this week or next should suffice, and hopefully help folks get ahead of the game before the deadline not too far away. I think just determining the approach to using FinCEN IDs, which is something that isn't necessarily required, but something that can be useful. So a FinCEN ID is effectively a 12-digit numerical code that FinCEN is providing for folks that apply for it. So you can go to login.gov, upload all your information, first name, last name, image of ID number. I believe you also need your social security number. And ultimately, they'll provide you this 12-digit code. That 12-digit code can be used as an alternative to your ID. And our system does accept FinCEN IDs as well. We could also help you get a FinCEN ID if that's interesting to you. But at the same time, our system does also make the FinCEN ID pretty obsolete, because in our system, you'll see you can just add existing beneficial owners to the next entity in a very efficient manner. So whether you choose to get a FinCEN ID or not, just helpful to kind of process what makes the most sense, specifically as it relates to your approach to filing or helping clients file. And then I think also it's really helpful to just identify those clients that might have more complex ownership structures, for example, large real estate portfolios or family offices, for example. There are a variety of complex ownership structures that do exist. These are ones that we found take a little bit more time to just vet and do due diligence to determine, okay, who are the beneficial owners, who needs to file, who's exempt, who's not. So some of those decisions are certainly helpful to make prior to actually filing, and would be timely to kind of get those processes kicked off. And then lastly, just as you plan for the rest of the year, vacation with the kids, holidays, etc. Take a second to just think about how many reports you need to file, and really consider if it makes sense to use a piece of technology, outsource the work, or kind of go through a manual process that might be quite laborious. So obviously we can help in the filing process. We want to help answer questions with that on the educational front, but then also have a pretty terrific platform that can make this really easy. So FileForms Pro is our workflow solution for enterprises. Accountants, law firms, family offices, investors, various associations are using FileForms Pro. If you're looking to schedule a demo, you can go to the URL in the bottom right there, or click the QR code on one of the following slides, and that can easily allow you to kind of book time with our team, determine, hey, does an enterprise workflow solution work for us, or perhaps we just want to go with the referral model. There's no upfront cost for the referral model. With FileForms Pro, there is a fixed licensing fee. It's very reasonable. It allows clients like yourselves to make a healthy profit. Typically, we say if you have 100 clients, that presents a $30,000 to $40,000 revenue opportunity for your firm. So pretty terrific kind of passive income stream to consider while proactively serving your clients' needs. And I want to really emphasize that, because that is what we built this platform to do. And we have a number of success stories on our websites, case studies, webinars, etc. In fact, I got a case study right here for a CPA firm who saved over 200 hours and helped their clients avoid over $1 million in penalties by using our FileForms Pro feature. So these slides will be distributed after the presentation, but certainly welcome spending time with you and your team in helping to determine what is the best path forward, because I think a lot of our accountant and CPA firms right now are very limited in staff, and the last thing folks are prepared for is another manual filing process that has a perpetual monitoring requirement, and there's just no kind of specific deadlines. It's all kind of rolling deadlines, which really limits the ability to create a consistent process for doing things efficiently without a piece of technology. Now our system can obviously help quite a bit with that. So with that, I wanted to kind of open it up for questions. My email is info@fileforms.com. So if folks do have questions, please do send them in, and we'll be happy to address those. In fact, we might have some time at the end to address a few questions, but I wanted to just pull up these QR codes here and also offer a 20% off promotion for folks. A common question we get is, do accountant firms or CPA firms need to file? If you're not PCAOB certified or doing public accounting work, you actually do need to file, as long as you don't meet the large operating company exemption, which, as a reminder for folks who don't already know, that's 5 million or more of revenue, 20 or more full-time employees, and an operating presence in the US. So if you truly meet all three of those requirements, then you're deemed a large operating business. You don't need to file. Many of us won't reach those requirements. All three need to be met to be deemed a large operating business. So you might want to just get started with filing for your firm, get acclimated with the product, get the benefit of being compliant, getting 20% off our pricing. So just to cover a little bit on pricing, we offer a single filing option and then we also offer a $199 annual subscription, which has unlimited changes of information. So our annual subscription is really our most popular product. It's $20 more than our single filing process. And ultimately, with that subscription product, you get a very rich feature set that includes monitoring services, which unfortunately you won't get with the single filing, and then also unlimited changes. So if you're anticipating any changes throughout the year, that $199 option is going to be of great value for you. And obviously, with this 20% coupon code, it ends up being even less expensive than our single filing option, which is $179. Now, if you're interested in FileForms Pro, that is a great option. That starts at $7,500 for 100 filings. If you need more than 100 filings, certainly we'll scale that up for you, no problem. But that is a great alternative. So, whether or not you want to try the product, get started for free, use a 20% promo code at checkout, or schedule a demo for FileForms Pro or a referral model. Certainly encourage folks to reach out to our team and get all their questions answered. So with that, I will leave these QR codes on the screen and I will see if there are any questions. So we have a few questions here. How do I find out who is the beneficial owner of a particular corporation? I did not find that information on the FinCEN website. So I can help you cover that, or also in our application, there's some very descriptive information on that as well, and on our website for that matter, www.fileforms.com. But effectively, beneficial owner has two definitions. So it's anyone who has 25% or more ownership in a business, either directly or indirectly, or anyone that has substantial decision-making power over the company. So that could be a senior officer, that could be a C-suite executive, a manager, a director. So there's two definitions of beneficial owners. And I want to emphasize that a beneficial owner has to be an individual. So you might find situations where entities own entities. There's parent companies and subsidiaries. Once again, you got to do a lookup to the individual who ultimately owns, say, the parent company, and then that individual would also be the beneficial owner for some percentage of the subsidiary. So hopefully, Priscilla, that helps answer your question. Rebecca, can you speak about BOI filings for HOAs? Yes. FinCEN recently issued FAQs on the fact that HOAs will need to file their BOI reports. Typically speaking, HOAs may or may not have 25% owners because they tend to be pretty diversified organizations with many holders of shares in the HOA. So, but typically also HOAs have boards, and those boards tend to have the key decision-making power over the HOA itself. So those HOAs will need to file and would recommend that their board members are or at least the board members with key decision-making powers are the beneficial owners. But there are FAQs on the website, and also on our website we have under our blog, under the resources tab, you can read about our article on HOAs. Alexa, does a sole prop have to file? Does a disregarded LLC have to file? So sole proprietors that do not have a registered formation or legal entity with the Secretary of State, they simply are operating independent of that. They will not have to file. Disregarded LLCs, if they do file that LLC with the Secretary of State and registered, they do have to file. And that's really the determining factor of a reporting company. So the first kind of qualifier of a reporting company is whether or not they file a registration or formation document with the Secretary of State. If they do, then more than likely they will need to file. I say more than likely because there are those 23 exemptions. Those 23 exemptions are extremely detailed. I would like to state that 97+% of all private companies in the United States will ultimately need to file a BOI report. But there are 23 exemptions that include if you're a bank, you don't need to file because you're already being heavily regulated by the U.S. government. If you're a publicly traded business, obviously you don't need to file because they already know who owns that business. 501(c)(3)s, which I see as another question, or nonprofits, they do not need to file. They, tax exempt entities have to check a lot of various boxes to ultimately meet that benefit. So I think for the most part, folks can go to our website and read about the exemptions. We have a quick reference guide and a bunch of materials under our resources tab to address the exemptions. That will be helpful with respect to determining who needs to file and who doesn't, but typically sole props do not. Happy
Great.
to take a few more questions if needed.
Yeah, it seems like it's everything, Frank. If you have other questions, please reach out to Frank. Use the QR codes on the screen. And here's a quick reminder on how folks could earn free CPE. Oh, it looks like you got one more right now. If you want to take a...
Are there any risks accountants face for filing on behalf of clients? Thus far, we haven't seen substantial risks, or certainly haven't seen any penalties for accountants that have looked to file on behalf of clients. Our system enables the accountant to actually fill out as much as possible on behalf of their clients, and then ultimately invite their client to submit the filing. And upon doing that, the client has the ability to review and then ultimately submit the information on their own, where they accept terms and conditions that they are providing complete and accurate information willfully to FinCEN. So ultimately, there is less of a risk, all an accountant needs to do is kind of have the approval of their client to file on their behalf, and they should be free to do so.
Okay, I think that was the last live question. Well, thank you, Frank. And here's a quick reminder on how people can earn free CPE for attending today's webinar.
Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.